do it now.
And
Did you post it
waiting for
on?
home tech. 3, 2, 1. I don't know if it's working, but I'm gonna post this link into the. Does
Posted
that
it.
work? No, it does not. Crud. Let's see. Slack. Wasn't
Do we
there a
talk
way I
about-
did this before? I think I
Did we
did.
talk
this
about
before.
Lidapalooza last week, or is that still?
I was there last week. But I
Oh,
just
you were
kinda,
there
like,
last week.
Put
Yeah,
more in.
we broadcast live from Chipotle or
Panera.
Panera Bread. Yeah.
Panera.
Come on. Panera's our Tim Hortons.
Last week we were sponsored by Panera.
See if that worked. Because I don't feel like typing anything. Nope, doesn't look like it did. All right. Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, no one's gonna tune in anyway because ATP is live.
Stupid ATP. Well, I guess my automations will never work. Somebody's tuned in live.
What the heck? LastPass just issued a statement confirming that, as I reported, Plex was the third-party media package exploited to affect a senior developer's home computer. So they got compromised through Plex.
Yeah, sounds like they messed up hardcore, and they're just like, "Yep,
It's somebody else's fault.
yeah."
That's why we're going out of business, because trust us with your data.
The vulnerability had already been patched by Plex, but the developer wasn't using the most recent version. Wow.
Gotta update those Dockers, buddy.
Wow. That's like so you know how you read vulnerabilities, you're like, yeah, to exploit that though is a lot of work. Well, this is one of those that they actually went through all that work. Oh man. That poor Plex.
All right, there we go. I announced it. For some reason, I don't think it's. Is it showing on that link? Maybe it is. Oh yeah, there it goes. We're on. All right, cool.
Cool.
I think so.
Oh, we have another Canadian on there. Look, see?
What?
Someone is watching. That's why I have my Tim Hortons cup.
Ooh.
Man, this kid, she's not in bed.
Oh my
Can't do anything about
gosh!
it now. Oh, well.
Oh boy.
Better go give her a tablet instead of a book. I'll show her.
A tablet of Benadryl.
Oh yeah.
All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
I gotta make
Yes,
sure
I
I'm
am.
recording now.
Did you post the link? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
link's
dude.
posted. Yeah.
Hold on, let me close this dashboard.
Testing. That's good. All right.
I don't know where you
I
post
sound all
these
right.
things.
Hopefully, I sound all right.
You sound great, TJ. You're like a
Aw.
5-star.
Thank you, Gavin.
Yeah. I'd give you 5 stars if I was rating your podcasts. Oh yeah. I forgot. He lives in Columbus. Okay. Well, still Canadian.
Everybody's nice here, so Canadian and Columbus. That is, yep,
I just
happens.
yelled through the little baby monitor. Get in bed.
This
and
is
she
why
like-
we have cameras.
Yeah, exactly. Mischievous. All right, let's get going here.
Fine.
March. Jeez. Did you guys know it's March?
Oh crap! What day is it?
The 3rd.
Yeah. No, it's
No, it's the 1st.
first of the
First.
third
Today's the
month.
first, but it's gonna be the third when it.
See, that's why you Americans,
This
you have
is
your
the
dates
3rd.
backwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you say it there,
exactly.
Gavin? You do the day first.
I always type everything as like year, month, day. You can't screw it up that way.
Year.
Month, day, yeah.
Year only changes once a year, though. So.
Yeah, it makes sorting and stuff on my file names and everything easier, though.
Except in Windows.
Well, no, I changed it all to year, month, day.
Everything.
It's like Windows.
Everything's
Let's
year,
start
month,
with the
day.
number 1, and now we'll go to number 10.
Oh God, yeah, I hate that. It's like when I'm searching for IP addresses in one of my systems, it does that.
You would think after, I don't know, 100 years of Windows, like they would fix that, but whatever.
No, they have priorities.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get this started. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Oh my gosh.
What?
This is the Home Tech Podcast for Friday, March 3rd? Yes, March. Jeez, it's March. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Lewis Center, Ohio, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome to the Home Tech Podcast, a podcast about all aspects of home automation, home control, home technology, everything, man. It's March. I guess calendars, we can talk about calendars. I'm back from traveling. I was at the Lightapalooza-a-thon, which I can never remember the name of this thing, but Lightapalooza 2023 last week, reporting live from the Panera bed in the hotel, I guess. I know it was an awful place for recording a podcast, but luckily the audio came out all right, I thought. I really couldn't tell what I was editing because I did it mostly on a plane, and if you're editing on a plane, you just have about 86 decibels of background noise all the time from the engine. So
You did a great job, though, Seth. I sounded great, so that's how I.
There you go.
There you go. 5 stars.
5 stars.
Gavin just giving out 5 stars all kinds of the day.
I know. Thank you, Gavin.
Yeah, I'm in a good mood today. I got my
What a
Tim
nice
Hortons
guy.
coffee. Yep.
Yeah, you got to deliver to your room. I mean, that's pretty nice service.
That's how they do it in Canada.
Well, I do want to focus on a couple of things that I did see there that I kind of put in the links to them in the show notes. But usually I try and take away a couple of neat or interesting or novel things from a show. There's a company called Lightleaf that's kind of new to the scene. Actually, Origin owns them. So if you're familiar with Origin Acoustics, the speaker company, this is kind of like a subsidiary or sister company or something that is backing Lightleaf, and it's kind of like a lower cost, budget friendly LED line, kind of like the LED Basics, if you kind of need that kind of thing. Of course, focuses on the dealer channel. And the complete opposite end is a company called Lumini, which holy moly, like the fixtures these guys had were just incredible. Like it was the complete spectrum of things there. And then I've got a picture from the DMF lighting booth. DMF makes these, and these they're LED lights, but they're like can lights that you can put in their ceiling, and they've got a million different trim options for it. And do you want it to be square? Do you want it to be round? Do you want it to be 4 inches, 3 inches, 6 inches, whatever? They have like what is equivalent as like, I don't know. Have you guys been to like Disney or something where they in the Star Wars land where have you seen where you can build like your own lightsaber or whatever?
I've seen it, but I haven't been part of that.
Yeah, it's kind of the same idea. Like you get all these pieces and you just kind of like put them all together and you have a light fixture at the end of the day. It's kind of just like that. And they have like, I'll put a link to it. I'll put a picture of it on our show notes here when we're talking about it. It'd probably be as the screen art on the screen if you're looking at your podcast player or whatever. I'll put it in there too. But it's kind of like a little wooden box that you get, and there's like pieces to put together a light fixture at their booth. So while I was there, it's like super popular booth because all the dealers are in there just kind of like putting things together and making little contraptions. And I was like, man, this is genius. You can go and get people interested in your product and super high end, nice looking light fixtures, but you get the hands-on experience of putting this stuff together is kind of fun. So if you're not familiar with DMF, go check them out. We'll put links to them in the showroom. And the absolute coolest thing I saw at Lightapalooza this year was this company called Light Can Help You, and it's kind of a startup. I think they're just getting rolling, but it's basically like a light design as a service company. So a lot of the times when you're building a home, you just basically get the basic grid layout of lights in a room, just like, well, the architect or whoever just kind of phones it in and just puts like, well, we'll just put a bunch of lights here and we'll light your carpet really nicely, I guess. But the room doesn't actually look very good because of that. And these guys will take your plans or whatever, or by the square foot and do a lighting design on it. That's all they're focusing on. So I did have a chance. The keynote speaker was one of the principals there. See if I can remember his name, David Warfel. Yeah. And he did a really good job at the keynote. Had a time to talk to him for about 30 minutes about a couple of things, but really cool, innovative company and led by a pretty good team. So if you have a chance to check them out, you have a need for the lighting design, check these guys out because they will help make your room pretty instead of four can lights and a fan, right? That's what everybody gets.
That's the kitchen dream, 20 different light switches that control about 5 different loads. I mean, who doesn't want all of that? Now I'm looking at their website right now. They look like they've got a lot of stuff there. The design process looks like it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that I'm going to keep in the back pocket because we run into a lot of newer builds and lighting control options like this. So this is great to have.
Yeah. When I was speaking, I like how they have it too. And I don't know if this is something they can do, but since they do it by the square foot, like if you had an important area like the kitchen, like a lot of people have the kitchen family room thing now, right? You could have them to do the lighting design in that shared space because if that's important, and just make that look nice because usually that's where the entertainment happens, that's where the cooking happens, that's where like 90% of your life happens in that area. Just do that and like get it done right. And then in the bedrooms and stuff, like who cares? Like you just sleep in there, right? So you don't even need lights. I don't know.
And I'm looking at their website too, and looking at some of the pictures. What I find is cool is it looks like it's the lighting's even in a room. Like there's no
Yeah.
like hot spots. It's like the room is equally the same lighting, and I think that's really nice. Makes me double think about some of the lighting I have in my house.
Yeah, he had some examples. I mean, the whole conference was about this. I mean, and educating the dealers in the CDS space on what options you had for lighting and that kind of thing. But he briefly in the keynote kind of showed off like some before and after space images, and you know, they can be pretty striking, right? To kind of see like, oh, this was this dark room beforehand, but then you add this layered approach to light in, and you highlight the things that are important and artwork, and put like hit the light off the wall where it can illuminate the room. You don't need all like 3,000 30 or 40 ceiling cans that just light up the floor. Like you can actually light up your room a different way, and of course you're using natural light through the windows and that kind of stuff. There's a whole process behind lighting design, and I don't know what it is. I've never gone through any of that training other than kind of know like what you can do with light and kind of how it works a little bit. But this is one of those situations where if you want it done right, hire a pro, because these guys like this. I mean, I'm sure there's a lighting designer in your town, right, that you can hire as well. But I thought this was kind of a interesting, pretty comprehensive way of getting things done as quickly as you can. So check them out if you're like you said, TJ, keep them in your back pocket because you can hand off a plan to them and have them take care of it for you. Cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else that was really cool there? Anything else that really stuck out to you?
Just like the linear lighting stuff. I mean, that's kind of like the big fad right now. Running that for toe kicks and cove lighting and wall washes, and like the amount of fixtures out there are just staggering. Like there's just so much product. It's really hard to keep up with. I mean, and no one really should. That's kind of the problem. Like it's all like domain knowledge. But what's interesting is that all of these big LED companies are focusing on the dealer space because electricians can't install their stuff. Like electricians aren't going to learn DMX control or DALI control or anything like that here in the States. They just like, we'll hook it up to a dimmer and that's about as far as we're going to go. And on the other hand, you have integrators who are like, yeah, we'll hook it up to DMX. We'll hook it up in an automation system. We'll put keypads on the wall that make sense. And I think actually quite a few of the vendors in the space and manufacturers have basically dedicated an entire staff to dealing, and in some cases, entire divisions of their company. Like WAC Lighting has that AI Spire. I don't even know I guess it's Aspire. But it's like an entire product line that they've made available for CEDIA dealers that, probably you could get through WAC Lighting, WAC Lighting, but like they are focused on showing up at all like the CEDIA type shows and being there for in the integration space. Same thing with, I think, Dial LED or something like that. I can't remember their name. There was a couple of them there, and of course, American Lighting has been pouring money into marketing into this industry for for quite a number of years now. So they're really kind of far and ahead of everyone else. But the thing is like electricians really aren't in a position to, I mean, maybe they are, some of them are, but most of them are just going to install a white light that you can turn on and off. They're not really getting into the technology and control systems that you need for like things like adaptive lighting and daylight matching and RGB control and all that stuff. That's just kind of outside of their normal wheelhouse, where they're working on breaker boxes and outlets. Like this is a little bit different. So it was interesting to kind of like, I really wanted to go there just to see what people were doing and what their questions were and the problems they were having. And just kind of talk to a few people and kind of understand it a little bit better. Even though like we've been selling linear lighting for about a year or two now, through my company, it's becoming bigger in the integration space. So I was there for research and all that good stuff. So it should be fun.
I'm curious, did you see a lot of like RGB and stuff like that, or is it mainly just, lighting controls and stuff like that, or is RGB popular at Lightapalooza this year?
Yeah, no, I mean, RGB lighting stuff was everywhere. What I didn't see very much was the pixel LEDs, which are the small individual, like you can control every single LED on there and make its own color. There was only one booth that had that, and it was kind of like, I think American Lighting, you can probably find some of their, like a video or two on TikTok or on Instagram or something. They had an interesting booth that in the back of it, they had some pixel LEDs, and they covered them with a, what's it called? The like acrylic, I guess. So it was just kind of foggy, and they were doing like Pac-Man and like all these cool things behind it. Obviously, that's not going to end up in people's homes, and maybe it will. I don't know. It's like a feature wall or something, but it definitely has its applications. I didn't see much of that. That was it. Everybody's focused on just the straight single color line of light, and then of course fixtures. Those are out there as well. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Most of them were single or dual color LEDs too. So you could do the daylight. Like you can do the daylight matching and dimming, like low, what they call it, warm dimming, if you have the two LEDs, because you can drop that down into like the warmer temperature colors as your dimmer comes down, so you can match like how an incandescent used to dim versus LEDs, which if you have a 3000 Kelvin LED, when you dim it down, it's just still going to be that bright white 3000 K LED, but you're not going to get any warmth out of it as you dim it down like you did with the old incandescents. So the newer lights have two LEDs in them, or even the RGBs can do that, where they dim down. And I think that technology and that fun stuff is what the integrators are interested in, and electricians I don't think are. I'm sure there's a few educators out there that can prove me wrong, but for the most part, I think they're focused on what they do best, and delivering high voltage into the house is definitely something an integrator probably shouldn't do.
Definitely not.
No, not at all. But speaking of shows, there's a couple of other shows this year. Notably, Infocom's coming up. That's a big commercial one in June. But the big show for this industry in this space, in at least on the pro side, is going to be CEDIA 2023. In September, right?
Yep. Well, what is that, like September 6th through the 9th or something like that?
Yep.
So, or 7th, I think.
There's shows that happen, or there's training and education stuff that happen earlier in the week. But this is kind of the year to get back into it. I'm actually going to be at Infocom. We'll have a booth there, and we're going to have a booth at CEDIA and doing a bunch of training. So planning on doing a bunch of training. So that's that news, but also the news, HomeTech is going to CEDIA, right? So we're going to get Gavin out of his house, out of his attic.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's going to leave Canada.
I'm feeling the pressure too. I'm not even a pro, but like you said you needed a booth boy, so I'll be there.
Yes. Definitely need a booth boy.
I'm gonna pretend like I know what I'm talking about. They're gonna come with a question, and I'll say, "Have you looked at Home Assistant?"
Oh man.
I mean, Gavin, honestly, you could set up a booth with your Home Assistant like jiggly interface, and we'll talk about that later. But you would have some customers pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice. You'll have an idea of what's really going on in the pro space, and you'll have an idea of what you can spend your money on. So, your wife is probably not going to be happy with you, but
No.
you're going to have some fun stuff to play with now.
Yeah.
And you know what? That this week I was watching. I had a playlist on YouTube, and they were doing a bunch of pro videos. Showing off installs, and I was so fascinated with the technology they have, how they do things. How much is actually put into the house. That going there to actually see this in person. It also just gives you ideas of what you could do in your own house, even with on a cheaper budget. And that's what I'm looking for. So we'll be there. We'll be there. I booked my ticket this week.
Yeah, I got the initial, or I guess the end of the trip. So my wife and I will be going down from the 2nd to the 9th, so Saturday to Saturday. We've got our Cedia ish hotel booked. I think it's like 2.5 miles from the convention center, so we'll take the train or the Uber. That won't be a big deal. But we're gonna try to explore other parts of Denver as well while we're there. So if you have any recommendations on what to do or where to eat or anything like that, I'd love to hear them. I've only been to Denver once, and I was a small child at that point. So looking forward to going back.
It's nice. It's a nice little town. It's right by the convention center in that area is nice. There's restaurants and things. There's like an outdoor mall. Like it's a street with things on the side. So there's always stuff to do around there and eat and that kind of thing. But I know that Denver has, a decent amount of culture, and I think it's been known as like a beer capital of something.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of breweries that at least started out there before I even heard of microbreweries. Like they were popping up all over Colorado. So
is there any specific food in Denver that you have to eat somewhere, like something special?
I think it's just a lot of like Spanish influence. So,
Oh, I like Spanish food.
yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of those kind of restaurants over there, but I don't have any specific ones in mind yet. I actually was making a spreadsheet and it somehow disappeared. I had like a good start on like restaurants and stuff, but we're starting to build that back up. So whenever I get it to where I'm happy with it, I'll send it over to the chat.
yeah,
Sounds good.
I'm gonna have to go buy a domain for that.
we do foodcation, so I always have to look at the good places to eat while I'm there. So
Yes,
I'll sacrifice on everything else as long as I get a good meal every day.
TJ's Lunch DB. Yeah, that'll be fun. You saw that right? It popped up a minute ago, but yeah, friend of the show, Richard Gunther says so wants to go. Hoping it works out this year. Hopefully it does too. It would be great to have everybody. Great to have everybody in. Gavin, we can, since we'll have a booth there. I was wondering what to do, some extra space. I'll put a table there. You can sit there and just sign autographs. As people.
There you go. Yeah.
We'll like make you a celebrity. Put like lights on you and big.
You just bring your water meter thing, and everybody would love it.
there you go.
Yeah. Definitely. You can say
It'll just be an antenna on the table, and they say, "What's that for?"
I can tell when you shower.
Yeah. Oh, you asked. Yes. Here we go.
Too good. Well, we're all excited about it. We've got a lot of planning. Of course, we're going to have a get together of some type, a big party like we usually do, and see how big we can make it, and have some fun with that. Now that TJ seems pretty antsy to get this going. So,
well, and I'm usually like waiting till the last second to do anything. But I know if I wait till the last second on this, everything is going to get substantially more expensive. So I just need to make it happen before that happens. So
no, and on the party stuff, stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more information on that later on. But usually that takes place a little bit further down the road. But we're going to get it done early, and at least there'll be some more information on that. So announce it in March. It's only 6 months away.
6 months away. So I mean, now's the time to start thinking about it, because it's going to be here before you know it.
Book your tickets. It's time
That's
to
right.
go to CEDIA.
I think I'm only like 150 rewards points away from getting my flights paid for. So I'm racking up the card.
Nice. All right. Well, not much in the news this week, but we do have literally a couple of home tech headlines. What do you say we jump into them?
Let's do it.
All right. Kind of the biggest news, I guess, this week, Jamie Siminoff, the CEO of Amazon, subsidiary Ring, is stepping down from his role later this month. The company announced this week Siminoff will take the role of chief inventor on March 22nd, and Elizabeth Harmon will succeed him as the CEO. Harmon most recently served as COO of the chat app Discord and has held executive roles at Microsoft Xbox division and Meta's Oculus virtual reality unit. In addition to Ring, Harmon will also oversee Amazon Key, which is the in-home delivery service door opening thing, and Amazon's Sidewalk, which is the low energy network stuff that kind of connects Ring and other devices together. Kind of a neat play there, as well as Blink, which is another maker of home security cameras and doorbells, just like Ring, which we can't figure out why they exist at the same time. But very interesting. Jamie Simons, he's been there since the what was it? The Shark days?
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, yeah.
When it was called Doorbot.
When he walked away
Doorbot.
from what, $700,000 on live TV.
It's good, great marketing right there. That'll get it. But I mean, it was a cool little product. I remember Doorbot being at some of the early CEDIAs and like nobody wanting to talk to them. It was kind of quite interesting, and just kind of going in and talking to those guys, and like everybody's like, yeah, it looks like a toy and whatever. And then I I'll take credit. Like we booked Jamie for the show, Jason and I, and we had him on the show, and I'll never forget sitting there. And he's like, I probably shouldn't announce this, but if you're not publishing the show until Friday, our new domain is going to go live, and we're renaming the company. And we're like, oh, it's not going to be called Doorbot anymore. He's like, no, we're going to be called Ring. So like he made that announcement on our show, but it was kind of after the fact. I mean, by Friday, all the news came in, so it was kind of funny. Yeah, Richard Gunther is saying, well, the Doorbot was ugly initially.
Oh yeah,
it was not pretty, and yeah, I can't anybody for not wanting to install it, but after they did the rebrand and announced like the entire new product line like at the same time, man, they definitely blew that out of the water. Like the look and of that Ring, I don't think anybody's come. There's been a couple of companies come close, but like to move away from being like that robotic toy thing on the door to what's something that you could get past the design committee and say, well, it may look weird at first. It looks like a giant overstuffed doorbell, but you can answer the door without being home. And it actually does work most of the time. They've done a great job in doing that.
And you know what? User interface design, it's a hard thing because the competition, do you know how many videos I see of the competition where people actually push the video camera thinking that's the doorbell button, right? Because it's just, it's user interface, it's happened on my camera. I never ever thought that somebody would actually push try and push where the camera is. But now that I look at it, I'm like, I can see how they can make that mistake. So Ring did it right, I guess.
Just make the button look like a button and the camera flat, not stick out.
Yeah, it's like the what is that, Doorbird, where it has like the small plastic one. Everybody breaks those almost immediately.
It was their motion detector, but
like a $600 video doorbell that's broken within an hour of installing it.
That industry has definitely moved forward, and I would say Ring has probably been the biggest part of that, because you're right, we were dealing with Doorbird. That's what kind of like the default was, and as soon as Ring rebranded and did that big push, I started to see them everywhere. I started to see them, just walking down the street, I'd see a couple of them, and today they're pretty ubiquitous. Like you kind of expect to see a video doorbell and most of the time it's Ring when you walk to somebody's house.
They've basically taken over the space, like how like Kleenex took over the tissue space. When people look at the doorbell, they're like, oh, you have a Ring. It doesn't matter what brand you have. They'll just be like, oh, you have a Ring doorbell, and everyone knows what you mean, right?
Yep.
Well, and in my opinion too, it's one of the easier, I guess, smart home devices. Some people would probably have an argument about calling it a smart home device, but it's in taking two wires off an existing button and putting one on the new one and two screws. So it's one of the easiest upgrades you can do to your house. So I mean, it's a genius idea. And whenever somebody's looking for security cameras, that's like one of the first things I recommend, is because the wire's already there. So
unless you have to replace the transformer. My neighbor blew up I think he blew up his transformer or something like that because he was messing with it and it wasn't powerful enough. But yeah, that's the only thing. But most people have a powerful enough transformer.
Yeah, and they're not too bad to replace. They make ones that if you buy like a new house here, they build the transformer usually into the electrical box. And to upgrade those ones, usually you want to get an electrician because you have to take off the panel and everything.
Yeah.
But they make a lot of plug-in ones as well. So and they're roughly the same cost. So at least it's not too bad to upgrade, depending on where you are, I guess.
Yeah, my transformer is actually in the attic above, like where a light switch should be, like from the 1969, whenever they built this house.
Yeah, mine's in the basement attached to one of the lights in the basement. I had to
I've seen
find
that.
it. Yeah.
Kind of a pain, but I think at the end of the day, as long as it powers up the doorbell, which isn't a Ring anymore, I've switched over to the Ubiquity one because it
Unify.
Yeah, Unify. I like what it's doing a little bit better. It certainly integrates a lot better.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay a monthly fee for it either. Crazy.
Yep. No
And
monthly
it's
fee,
local, isn't it?
local recordings. Yep. So hopefully we'll see. Well, Ring's kind of got their stick there, and that other company, I think Blink has. You could do SD card recording or something like that. So there's other products in the marketplace now, and wish Miss Harmon luck in her new role as CEO, but should be good. Will be nice to see what she does with the company. We got some new product this week. We talked about this before, I think, as a rumor a couple of weeks or maybe a month ago. Yeah, it was like an FCC leak that rumors were just everywhere about this new Habitat hub. Well, they announced it, the Habitat Elevation Model C8 home automation hub. It's got new radios and hardware. The Model C8 delivers a boost in performance while maintaining its commitment to local home automation. New features include a Z-Wave 800 radio, Zigbee 3.0 radio, Wi-Fi and Ethernet connectivity, external antennas for both Z-Wave and Zigbee, a USB-C power adapter. The new radios, combined with the external antennas, increase the range and RF latency. I guess reduce RF latency, not increase, when communicating with more than 1,000 smart home devices that are compatible with the Habitat C8 hub. And in recent edition of the Apple HomeKit integration, the Elevation hub is also compatible with all of the major voice assistants from Apple, Google, and Amazon. So I guess I haven't done this in a long time, but like it's one of those hub bell things. Like I still got it's got a lot of dust on it these days, but congrats, Habitat. A new automation hub's out.
This was great news. This was what a lot of people were waiting on. The addition of the Z-Wave 800, the Zigbee, but even though the Zigbee radios are Matter and Thread compatible, they're very hush, but they did say Matter will come later this year. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit for that. The one thing I have to say about this hub is that, or Habitat in general, is what I've seen is they're listening to their community. Because this hub adds a lot of things that were, either asked for in the community or even born in the community. The external radios, there's a guy in the community that was actually modding people's C7 hubs and putting external antennas on their hub for them. You'd ship it to him, he did his thing, and he put some big antennas on it, and then he'd ship it back, and they would run tests, and it significantly increased reliability of Z-Wave. I think it's just because the devices at that point were connecting directly to the hub. You were basically eliminating the mesh with the Z-Wave and all the problems you had with the mesh, which I think was also tied to the whole 700 series chips. I have a bad taste for them. I'm running a 500 series chips and I have no issues at all. So I don't know how 800 is going to be, but with the long range, that's going to make things very interesting. When you start getting into Z-Wave long range and you have how many kilometers, of distance, and there's so many things you can do. It's great. USB-C power adapter, people are asking for that. The Wi-Fi and Ethernet, people were very big on, I understand why they didn't want to put Wi-Fi initially, but you got to put it in. If people want it, you have to put it in. So it's good to see that. The one thing I did notice is there's no CPU bump on it. So what I was seeing in the forums is it's the same CPU, and I wish they gave that a little bump because I noticed a little difference, when you add, I think it could use a little bump there. Some people,
does it really need it? Like for most people?
I noticed. So for most people, it depends on, I guess, the power user. A lot of people in the forums have multiple hubs, and the reason
Yeah.
why they do that is because they have so much running that they split it up across the hubs, and things run faster. Well, if you get a CPU bump, I guess you wouldn't need multiple hubs, but then that could lower sales for Habitat. There's a lot of people that buy multiple hubs, and it seems to be a recommended practice when people are like, "Oh, my hub's running slow." The first thing people are telling them to do, buy another hub and offload the apps onto it and stuff like that, right?
Well, I mean,
Um,
and it's like just looking at the pricing, it's 189. It looks like normally, but it's on sale right now for 149. Like I mean, overall, that's really not a bad price for all you're getting here. I don't think like the whole
and they
ecosystem and everything.
always have sales around the major holidays, right? So I mean, if you don't need it now, you can wait till the holiday. It'll more than likely be on sale. You can get it then. And they also have a migration tool. So if you're
Yeah.
going from a C5 or a C7, you can run a tool. It will take all your Z-Wave devices, your Zigbee devices, and take all the apps and everything and migrate it over to the new hub nice and easily. So that is good to see. So I'm very pleased with what they came out with. And, there's a lot more software-wise that they're planning on doing, which is good to see too.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm looking through the website. I'm looking at their dash. There's a show you off your dashboards thread here.
Ooh, they
yeah.
stole it from us.
Or we stole it from them because this goes back to 2018.
Oh well.
Yeah. The Habitat dashboards have never been the prettiest things, but I mean,
there's no
nor the
jiggling
app
here, man. There's no jiggling here, so
nor the app. Yeah.
It's very, very blocky, basic. But if it gets the job done, it gets the job done, and I can't really complain on the pricing and everything. It seems like a solid price at 149. So
Yeah.
Well, and that's the intro price, right? I think it goes up to like 179.
yeah, I think it's 180. 189 is what I saw.
Yeah.
When I was on the buy now page, and then it looked like the C7s, they were on sale for $99. So
Yeah, I think it's gone up over the years through the various generations. So it's gotten a little more expensive, but that's the way things are going now. Everything's going up in price.
what were they before?
Well, the 99, I can't even remember because when I
It was like
originally
79
bought mine,
and then 99, right?
yeah, you could get them for 79 when they were on sale. That's US dollars, but I had to import mine from the States, so I had to pay extra shipping and duties and blah blah blah. So it added up for me. But yeah, now it's what were you saying? 179
For the new one,
US
149,
yeah.
and then 189 regular price. So it's just on sale, right? $40 off right now.
Yeah,
And then,
so it's trickled up over time.
yeah, $300 Canadian, I'm pretty sure. So if I'm doing my math right.
Yeah, I gotta take out a loan to get one.
Yeah, you need to mortgage your house.
Can't afford
or-
milk this
yeah.
week.
Refi your house and you should be able to get one or two.
There's actually a video one of the YouTubers, the influencers released, like it was pretty much the day of the announcement too, where he actually did tests of the new antennas and stuff. So it was really good to watch this video because he saw the difference in the signal strengths and stuff like that and the reliability. So those external antennas are going to make a big thing. Now I wonder if you could extend them away. I don't know if there's any wiring you could do where you can move the antennas away from, like if you had this in a rack and you could put this on the outside of the rack.
They look like normal antennas.
Yeah, I was gonna
Like,
say
Yeah.
usually you can just buy an extension cable for them.
Yeah, that would be cool because then you put it on the outside of your rack. You could put this in the rack, or you can
Yep.
move the antennas away from stuff like that. So it's there's a lot of possibilities with this hub, but it looks good.
Now, do all the Z-Wave 800 radios have the long range capabilities in them, or is that like a separate thing?
I think they're all built in, but I think it's also based on the software. They have to add the ability for it. I think for some reason I want to say the 700 series had it too, and they just need to update firmware and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think Zeus is now selling Z-Wave 800 devices, so they're slowly trickling out.
very nice. Very nice. Well, congrats on Habitat. If anybody out there has gotten a C8 and wants to report back on how well it's working versus the C7, or if it's solved a bunch of problems for you, let us know. Kind of curious. It looks like a neat little system for all that you get for $150.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, solid crew over there, so definitely
Yeah.
worth supporting. better than Wink. If you're looking to dump your Wink, give them a
Well,
shot.
yeah, the best thing about the Habitat crew is they're active in the forums. You know, if you want to talk to one of the actual developers, they're actually in the forums talking to people, you know, and you can give your suggestions. And sometimes if it's something small, like if you're in the Habitat forums and you want to see, like, don't come with, we want the whole interface rewritten, because then that's just too broad. But if you come with something very specific, hey, this column, could we be able to sort by this column? You'll probably see it in the next update, right? Like if it's something quick, they'll probably add it, and then just throw a bunch of little quick things at them, and they'll add them up over time, right? So that's what I like, is the interaction.
Just trying to see if there is a dumpyourwink.com domain.
Buy it.
Just thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, no, good crew, listening to their customers, being in business, not, you know, shutting down their processes for X amount of months or days or weeks without any response is probably a good thing. Yeah, keep an eye on Habitat. They're still out there. They're still kicking. All right. Well, all the topics and links we talked about tonight can be found over in our show notes over at HomeTech.fm/426. Kind of moving on here, we do have something to mailbag this week, and of course, this goes back to Gavin's discussion about spying on his neighbors and their water usage. But this comes from listener Greg. He said in episode 425, Gavin talked about a Zigbee millimeter Z-Wave sensor that he got off Amazon. Would it be possible to get the link to that product or some model numbers or something like that? He said he can't seem to find anything on Amazon. So, Gavin, do you remember what you were talking about? And I think Greg wrote back and it's like, oh yeah, how are you spying on your neighbors? I want to know how to see my water. What are you using for that? We need to put those in the show notes so people can find those things, because they really want to spy on their neighbors' water usage.
You just mixed up like all the technologies. You called it
I was like, wait a minute.
millimeter Z-Wave.
We've got two things. We've got the Z-Wave. Did I say Zigbee? It's Z-Wave.
You called it Zigbee and Z-Wave. It was actually funny, but we'll leave that in. But yeah, he was first asking about the millimeter wave sensor that I picked up off Amazon. You know, I was there shopping for something else that's got suggested to me. It's just the Tuya one, right? But it's rebranded under a bunch of different names. But when you dig down to the description, you actually see it's Tuya, and it will just look like a big square. That's all it is. It's black. It's a big square. And it's been sitting in my office, and I actually use it to, you know, in my office, you know, the lights are all controlled, and it actually works really well. You know, my lights don't turn off on me. You know, even if I'm sitting still, it still works. It's been great, so I can't complain about it. The only thing I did mention is that you want to pair it up with an actual motion sensor. Because they're slow to kick in. The millimeter wave stuff is slow. So when I walk in the room, my motion sensor actually triggers the light on initially. And then the Tuya millimeter wave sensor will, you know, continuously monitor me that I'm in the room. You know,
I feel like that's a limitation on whatever Tuya's done, because I think from my experience that when you had like the dual tech motion detectors way back in the day, like the hardwired hardline things, I think they had millimeter wave in them. And they had like the normal heat zone detection. Those would pick you up pretty instantly. But
yeah, that's two sensors, right?
They had both of them in
there.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what you're saying, is the Tuya didn't put the PIR sensor in it, right? So like the everything one sensor that Lewis sells, he bundled them both together so that, you know, same concept. You have a PIR sensor and you have the millimeter wave. So I just have a separate sensor, so I just bundle them in my automation. I just group them and it works great. So that was one thing. And then he asked me, and this has been such a hot topic. It's the most asked question for some reason. I've gotten hit on Mastodon, Twitter, you know, emails everywhere, is what am I using to read my water meter? And like, I'll say it again. I picked it off on Amazon. It was an NESDR Nano 2 Plus. And the whole thing is just make sure your water meter works with it. First of all, I just got lucky. It happened to work. I have a smart meter. All my neighbors have them. It throws the signals into the air, and this picks up everybody. So, you know, we went into that, and, you know, hopefully it works for them too, and it helps out.
Yeah, SDR, software defined radio, is a very common thing. Like you can just search for SDR dongle, like software defined radio, and it's basically a USB dongle with an antenna, and it can listen to whatever you want it to listen to, like you're saying, and you can focus on that, but it's really picking up every. I have the same thing that you have, like the same dongle with the same little
Yep.
antenna, and what it does is it picks up air traffic control. You know, what do they call it? The transponders off of the aircraft that are flying around, and reports them back to a little aggregation server. Flight, I think it's flight status or something like that. And that's just like a data aggregation thing so that, you know, people know where airplanes are. And anybody can get that and hook it up, and it's just over the air radio stuff. And as long as you know what frequency to listen to and how the data is coming through, you can understand what they're saying. So it's kind of cool.
And it has a Home Assistant plugin, so it was easy to set up in Home Assistant, and then you just configure a YAML file to say which meter is your meter, and then at that point it creates an entity, and you just do what you want with it.
How that's one question I had. How do you know which meter is your meter? I assume, like, do you just like flush your toilet and then look at which one's spitting off data, or are there numbers you can match up?
Oh, Seth, you overcomplicate things. I walked up to the meter and I read the number that was on it. There's a serial number on the meter, and you just match up that serial number with the signal, and that was it.
I honestly, I could see them getting a little more complicated. Like, I could think of a way of putting like a QR code that had an encoded serial number on it that they could read, but you can't read, and then you kind of have to reverse engineer and figure out which one's yours. But if it's
the flushing of the toilet thing was a good idea, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just run water.
Yep.
Take a long shower. That's mine.
So creepy.
All right, moving on here. We got a pick of the week. We've got a nice little comic. I think this came up on Mastodon, so if you're wanting to join that and get off Twitter, HomeTech.fm or HomeTech.social will get you there. I think there's a link on HomeTech.fm on the sidebar somewhere, but it could be more prominent. But I ran across this evolution of smart home products. It starts with a toaster that makes toast. It's kind of like a 6-panel comic here. The second one says makes toast after making you wait for a firmware update. That's the Wi-Fi enabled one, of course. Then they've got a data-driven one. It makes toast by watching how fast you like. Makes toast by watching how you like toast. So it's like the AI version, right? There's as a service, so it makes toast for $5.99 a month. We've been through all these iterations and maybe a couple more. Ad supported, makes toast and lets you know the Smuckers is on sale. There you go, so you can get some jelly. And then it's got AI here at the end, and it's got the red dot from 2001 HAL, I guess, on there. It says toast. I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. So we've got a couple of more generations of smart home devices to go before we get there. But we're getting close. I think ChatGPT is going to get us pretty close to angry AI living in our home products that gets depressed and tells you how wrong you are.
Could you imagine a ChatGPT toaster? You know, you ask it to make toast and it writes you up a whole story on the history of toast instead.
Yeah.
This is what you wanted,
wrong.
right?
And you're like, wait, toast isn't made from bananas. And it's like, no, it is made from bananas. You are wrong, Dave.
Oh, I guess you're right. My bad.
Yeah. Locks your house down, catches on fire.
Just blows up.
Yeah. This is pretty good. I like it. We'll put a link to this in the show note. It's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. So, all right. If you have any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the week, great ideas for a show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@hometech.fm, or you can visit hometech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. All right, a couple project updates. One is a big one. TJ and I are kind of a part of, and Gavin. I don't know, Gavin. Did you elect to sit out? Because what was the deal on this? Did you? I think you were part of the initial conversations. You were just like, not. I don't have any expertise here. But Adam Justice over at the Smart Home Show and is building a theater that he's been talking to me about for years, and we sat down with him, friend of the show, Owen Maddock, and of course, Richard Gunther. TJ and I did, and had a really long conversation about just what you want to do with a home theater. And man, it was a really good, first meeting approach, I guess. Like, TJ and I, we were talking about this before. We just kind of like sat back and let Owen go at it. Like he's the expert here. He at CinemaWorks. That's what he does. His day job is not like hanging TVs or figuring out how to get wire from point A to point B. His day job is figuring out how to engineer the best home theater for the space you have. And so bringing him in, his expertise about speaker placement and decibel levels and all that good stuff was really, really refreshing, really eye-opening. He had a lot of great suggestions and that kind of thing. I think if I'm not too far behind on editing, I will drop like a little quick clip of us talking in here. Just to kind of like give you a preview, a teaser, but it's going to be over on the Smart Home Show. So whenever that drops and releases in your podcast feed, make sure you're subscribed to that show, and take a listen. It was a long conversation. I suggested they break it into 2 conversations because it was so long, but I think they may try and publish the whole thing or edit it down somehow. So it should be fun. TJ, you had a lot of fun, I think, in that conversation. What did you get out of it?
Yeah, I mean, we went on for I think like 2.5 hours, 2 hours at least. We could have easily spent 8 hours talking about everything and not even really scratch the surface. There's a lot of thought and processes that go into designing a home theater. And I'm definitely not an expert on designing home theaters. I've installed many of them in the past. But it's probably how a lot of integrators do home theaters, where they find, really good spec, hardware, and they put it all together and it works. But there's not really like a concept behind it. And that's what Owen at CinemaWorks does is, there's math to everything. And, being in technology there's different things that fit different spaces. And he's a wizard at finding out those things. So he's asking questions that like, I'm not even thinking of at the moment, because he knows that it's going to influence what he's going to pick in the future. Right. So, I'm usually the type of person that's like, give me a budget and we'll work to make it happen. Whereas he's more, systematic or, figuring out how to actually get there. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a really good conversation, and I'm interested to hear it again when it drops on the podcast.
And yeah, Owen, in the past, he's shown us things he's worked on. He's been working on, models of the rooms, and the software they use to analyze things. And I've been amazed at what they do nowadays, like even down to, calculating how many subs you should have in the room and, where they should be placed, at the front, back, corner, like stuff like that. But it's not just guessing. It's actually, this software will actually show you the frequencies in each part of the room based on the model of the room. Like, I always found that amazing, and he takes it to a next level. My home theater is like you. I just buy some Sonos, hook them up, and put the TV above the fireplace, and we're good, right? Like,
it's funny you say that, because we had an extended conversation about what we all had as theaters in our homes.
Yeah,
and TJ and I here are like,
Sonos. And...
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's basically like what me, Seth, and Owen have like nothing going on for our house TV. Yeah, and then Richard and Adam are like, we have like way more advanced stuff. And it's just funny.
It also comes down to how much you're going to spend. Like, my budget, I'm not going to get someone to design a system, right? But when you got somebody to design it for you, you have a bigger budget, then it's worth the money, because they'll give you something way better. You get what you pay for in the end. I mean, my budget system sounds good for the space it's in, but it's nowhere near like an expensive system.
Well, and a lot of times when people say they want like a home theater, they don't want to spend the money that it takes for a home theater. I run into this problem all the time where somebody's like, I want a home theater, and you talk to them about what they want and what their budget is mainly, and they want a nice spot to watch TV at, right? Like, and you could throw an 85-inch TV up there with like a Sonos Arc, and that's probably going to satisfy the majority of people, because they're used to watching TV on like a 65-inch TV with built-in speakers. And so when you take it up to that next level of home theater, it pays to do, your research and figure it out, because you're going to drop a lot of money on that home theater. I mean, it's minimum, $20,000 or $30,000 if you're paying somebody by the time you buy like entry level stuff.
Right. And Adam's doing his budget. I don't think is outrageous. I mean, he shared with his, and he may share with his audience on what that budget is. I'm not sure, but kind of gone over it. Like, he's realistic. He's been looking at this stuff long enough to know what stuff costs. He's not uneducated in that respect. But what's funny is we didn't even get. I don't think we even touched on equipment. Like we didn't even talk about it this entire time. This first conversation was all about the room, the space, what he wants to do with it, how he wants to interact in it, like where things can line up, where the walls are going to be, what is this wall for, that kind of stuff. And we had a couple pictures and some like preliminary drawings, but like later this week he made a comment that he had an area that he thought he was going to have a good space for home theater, and then laying everything out, it just didn't work. And I didn't quite understand what he meant. And then like earlier, maybe yesterday, it looks like he sent over like just the latest draft update of what his builder wants to do. So Adam's actually, this is a build out in his basement that he's going to be doing. So he's right. Like he doesn't have, like he kind of like, after you lay everything out, he has this one spot for a theater, and he has to do everything, meet all the goals that he wants to meet for him and his family. And then also, you know, if he says, you know, he's trying to do it right, he's trying to have it engineered correctly and that kind of thing, and do best practices. You know, it can be challenging in the space that we have to work with now, because it's not like the most ideal space. Like if everything's said and done, like I think he could probably put this somewhere else that in this space, but he would lose other stuff that his family wants. So that's a big consideration when you're building out a theater like this. So I think this is going to be a great series over there on the Smart Home Show, and I can't wait to sit down and spend 2 more hours talking with everybody again. So it was a lot of fun, man. We've got at least 4 or 5 more shows to go, I think. But one day he'll have a theater there. So
and who knows? I might be going to Illinois.
Yeah, we should all go up there and just watch a movie.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hang out in his house.
I think Gavin's probably closer than you are, but
yeah, he might be.
Come on down, Gavin.
Yeah. Well, TJ, you've got a couple notes here about some stuff that you've been up to. A couple weeks back, you got one of those Amazon Ring dash cams, and it looks like you have a review. What's going on? What's
I mean, so I've been using it for I think about a week, maybe a week and a half now. I've got to say, for the money and the subscription cost, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's like most other first editions of products, it's probably something you want to hold off on, right? So I was looking at a video that I recorded earlier while I was driving, and you know, a good example of how bad the camera is maybe 20 feet in front of me. I can't even tell the license plate. So it's pretty much useless as a dash cam unless I can just pinpoint what kind of car it was, right? So a lot of times you buy a dash cam, so if you like an accident happens or somebody runs out in front of you or whatever it is, you have footage for that. But if you can't even get the license plate, it kind of defeats the purpose, in my opinion. Another thing that's kind of weird is that I can't download videos. So it's got the option when you go in there, you can look at the driving history, and it records just like a regular dash cam. Whenever you're driving, it just continuously records. There's an option to download the footage, but every time I go to download the footage, it tells me the video's too long, but I don't see any way to like trim it down or anything. And so I was like, well, okay, so this is probably just being user error. So I made the video really short, right? So I don't know how long it records for, like 15, 20 minutes or something. But I was like, let's do like 2 minutes and see if it downloads. And it still tells me it's too long. So I'm not really sure how to retrieve footage off of this, which is probably not a good thing. But it's funny because it tells you that you can still download it, even though it's too long. So it gives you a little download button. You click it, and it says, there's some terms of service about this video. Just hit accept. And it's like, okay, I'll hit accept. And then it says you'll get an email when the video is available for download, but I never get a link. I never get an email or anything. So not really sure what's going on with that. And honestly, I just haven't looked into it. I'm probably going to return it. So I'm probably not going to spend a lot of time on that.
It was that bad. How much did this cost?
It's $200 for the device itself, which I think is, I mean, honestly though, it's not bad for like a 4G, cellular dash cam. A dash cam can run anywhere from $200 to way, way more expensive. And then you're paying for the cellular service on top of that. This is $200, maybe $250 after like the intro price, and $60 for a year of service. So like in terms of affordability, it's very affordable, which isn't too bad.
But for that price, I still expect a little better quality. Like
Yeah,
that's the
well,
thing.
and
It's
especially
not
the
cheap.
video quality. I don't
Yeah.
expect the video quality like when I'm not driving to be really good, but like you can barely tell logos on like company vehicles, so
Yeah.
that's not really that useful.
It sounds like the Ring dash cam is on par with every other dash cam I've ever used. Like I have one in my car, and I think Xiaomi makes it or something like that. And like I can connect to it, but it's wholly unreliable. Like
Hmm.
there's just a 50-50 chance if the video, there could be video from like 2017 on there when I first got it and like plugged it in and like on my previous car, and then I put it in a drawer or something, and somehow that video has survived, but like literally no other videos have come on. Like I have the same problem. I can't get video off the stupid thing, and I don't know if it's recording video. I have no idea.
Hmm.
It's just the quality of these dash cams is poor, and I was really hoping that Ring was gonna come in and be like, yeah, you know that horrible video doorbell that had that bubble thing on that people kept pushing and breaking that cost you $600. Like we're gonna make a $200 one. It's gonna have cellular. It's gonna solve all these problems. It doesn't sound like they. It's a swing and a miss. It sounds like.
Nah, not with this one. And honestly, like I'm pretty happy with the dash cam I have now. So right now in my work vehicle and my personal vehicle, I have the Viofo A129, which is a front-facing camera, and it's got an external camera as well, so you can route it to the back of your car.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're like $200. They have a 4K version for like $50 more or something. That's the best dash cam I've ever used. But if you're trying to retrieve footage, I found it's easier to just pull the whole dash cam and just plug in the micro SD card. They've got like a Wi-Fi thing or Wi-Fi SSID that
Yeah.
shoots out, and you connect to it. It takes like forever to download a video off that way though. So I just take the dash cam inside and do that.
The same on mine. And you know what? The Xiaomi the app that was supposed to, the official app does not work at all. But there's all
Yeah.
these third-party apps that work perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's so
But
weird.
it takes forever to download, like you're saying. So
One more thing I want to point out about this dash cam is that it uses OBD2 for power. So normal dash cam will come with a 12-volt adapter, and you route like a micro or mini USB cable from the dash cam to the 12-volt adapter. You plug it in, and bam, it turns on with your 12-volt stuff. This one uses OBD2, so it just plugs into the harness. But what I find funny is that the cable that plugs into the actual dash cam itself is on the right hand side of the dash cam. So you kind of have to like make this weird loopy thing out of it. But the Ring dash cam is supposedly only compatible with cars that have an OBD2 port on the left hand side of the car. So if your car has one on the right hand side, it's not compatible with that one for some reason.
weird.
But the power's on the right. So that's pretty weird.
The
And most of the time,
design
you
miss.
don't need the OBD2 port. But it is kind of annoying to take that up because if you take your car into the mechanic or something, they're probably not going to plug this back in. It's going to be something they forget about. I bought a $10 OBD2 splitter, though, which seems to have solved my problem. So not really worried about that at this point.
And with the ODB2 port, they probably get a lot more information off your car that they're probably harvesting for
I would
themselves,
imagine.
right? So they'll know
Yeah.
speeds you drive at, where you go, stuff like that.
Yeah, and they have some battery saving options. Like it actually asks you how often you want it to do stuff, so it can help prevent draining your battery. So I'm sure there's some other smart things they're doing behind the scenes that nobody knows anything about.
Yeah, I think Greg and our friend of the show, Greg, he's usually in our chat, but he's not here tonight. Mentioned one time, I mean, he works for the state in Chicago and kind of on the road. I guess basically any car after 2018 that has cellular hookup, like for like OnStar or whatever, basically is recording all the data and telematics. It's all anonymized and everything, but it's recording everything that every pothole and every bump your car hits, and it goes up to these companies and they aggregate that data and they say, well, looks like a lot of people hit a pothole right here. We're going to turn around and sell this data back to the state, so they can patch potholes and that kind of thing. So you really don't know. Like your car's spying on you most of the time, just like your TVs. Like it's interesting. So Ring's getting into that game, or Amazon's getting in that game too. It sounds like.
This is so if one of their Amazon Prime drivers hit you, they can just delete the footage. Actually makes a lot of sense.
That's pretty good. Well, it's too bad to hear about that. I honestly had higher hopes because of my experiences with dash cams and how awful they are. I was really hoping that Ring would do something better, but it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah, and I would probably be willing to keep it if the video quality was a little bit better. Everything else is kind of like, whatever. But I need to be able to tell license plates and logos and stuff like that. It's kind of important with a dash cam. So
Cool. Well, we got one more TJ rant. It looks like this is just marked TJ hates tablets.
Rant away, TJ. Rant away.
Tablets are the stupidest devices ever, right? I mean, they're right up there with printers.
Wow, that's a statement, but
yeah,
no,
they're just awful.
Don't put them in the printer category. Like,
no, they're a step above printers. I mean, yeah. Well, I'm just making terrible decisions. I bought a new printer this week too, but no. So I've wanted a cellular tablet for a while because I want something that has a decent sized screen, like 12 to 15 inches, where I can just pull it out with a keyboard and do my work without breaking out my 17-inch gaming laptop that weighs 1,000 pounds and has RGBs everywhere and stuff like that. So I was looking at an iPad Pro, but if you've ever looked at an iPad Pro, like the 12.9 inch, one with cellular is $1,400. And then you add a $300 keyboard on top of that, you're talking like a $2,000 device. And I'm not spending $2,000 on a tablet, right?
I've not even a real computer. Like it's still
it's crazy to me, and it looks beautiful, and I'm sure it'll last forever because it's an iOS device or whatever it is. But it's not worth that to me. And so I was doing research on other tablets, and I made the mistake of buying an Android tablet.
Oh, there's your first mistake.
Yeah, I know. So they had I bought it secondhand for like $300. It's a Galaxy Tab S7 FE, which is like a 12.4 inch display. I bought a keyboard off eBay that was like $80. It was like the official keyboard. And, honestly, as like a device, it works mostly fine, but it's got the same problems that like every other Android device in the world has, where it just like randomly crashes, apps won't load for some reason. And it's got this weird thing where I don't know if, I guess no Android manufacturer ever made anything for larger screens. But like Facebook is a good example where I'll be scrolling through like some group or something, and somebody posted a photo, and the photo takes up like 175% of the screen. Like you're scrolling and you see part of the photo, and like it's still going, and you're like, holy cow, this is a really large photo. And it's just ridiculous. So it's all right, I guess, but I wish that they made better cellular tablets that were big.
I wish they made just like a MacBook with cellular in it. I mean,
I would buy that.
Yeah, it already basically runs on the same processor that the iPad you're talking about, I think, has almost the same processor that's in the MacBooks. Like, why can't they just add the radio? I know the ATP guys are just always harping on that, but it doesn't make any sense to have literally the same architecture running the entire lineup that you have. And well, it's a computer, so we just don't want to give it data access. Why? I'm productive on my computer. I'm not productive. And the iPad is so. The iPad's a good note-taking thing. Like I can use a pencil and take notes real fast and draw and stuff. But outside of that, it's so like handcuffed to being an iOS device. That it's just kind of useless until they're able to give me a terminal and let me run stuff on it. It's kind of it's not a very useful computer other than for notes and large format web surfing, that kind of thing. So.
Well, this one has like the window snapping similar features that like Windows has, which I really love. Like when I'm trying to use my MacBook and I can't just snap windows without like a third party app, it annoys me. So like this one has that kind of feature, but like nothing scales correctly. So it's like you snap it to the window and then it's like half the page is already gone because it doesn't realize how to actually scale it. Yeah. So you're just you can't really multitask.
Yep. TJ hates tablets.
I feel the frustration too. Like
Yeah.
the thing about the Android tablets is like you just don't know what you're getting sometimes. Like you can read the specs, but you don't know how they translate into the actual device, how well it's gonna work. Like I had some experience with Android tablets, and yeah, it was just frustrating.
Yeah.
And then I had an Apple tablet, and after I got too old, I just used it to RDP into my Windows computer, and I just do stuff on the Windows computer through like an RDP, like
Mhm.
so that's all it became. But yeah, I just like to have a laptop on my lap still. I can't work off tablets.
Yeah. And I was looking at cellular laptops, but I mean, there's not really good selections of those. So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna deal
No,
with it.
I don't think you're like I remember there's that guy Federico Vitici or whatever, and he was all in on the iPad doing all these like automations and stuff. And I think even recently he's been like, yeah, I'm back on the Mac because
Yeah.
it's just you can.
I
I've
can do
tried, and you
things.
just fight the whole system to do something that should take 5 seconds to do
Yeah.
on a computer, on a real computer, and it is a real computer. The iPad has a massive processor built
Yes.
into it. Just it's crazy that they kind of still have it hamstrung on ideology that was lined up with, what it was, 2010, 2012, or
Yep.
whenever it came out. So
And I remember when the Microsoft Surfaces were coming out. I was excited to get one of those. I'm like, all right, this is a tablet, but it has like the keyboard, but it's a computer. And I eventually got one for work, and I hated that thing. The first thing that
Yeah.
bugged me the most was, you can't put it on your lap. You need a table for that thing, no matter what. And it was there were so many annoyances about that. I know it's come a long way, but the screen was just so small, like a 13-inch screen with such a high resolution, like it was everything just, yeah, I returned that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I used one of the Microsoft Surface 7s, I think. That was my first one that I actually bought. And I used it for about a week, and I could not do it. I was trying to use it as a main computer. I think if you were using it as a secondary thing, it's all right, but yeah.
Yep. I don't even talk about my Microsoft experience right now. I'm having an issue with my wife's computer, and of course, I'm in charge of fixing it. And I've done everything I possibly can. It gives a generic error code that says blah 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 blah. This is generic error code, and everything I've done on the thing, look it up. I go on Mastodon and post, and everybody's like, "Hey, you should probably just reformat your drive and start over." That is
Just
not
delete
that's
everything.
not an option. Yeah, just delete it all. I'm like, no. So something just can't be fixed. It won't do any Windows updates. It reboots every night trying to do them. Can't do it. So I don't know. Just run. That's all I want it to do. Just run and leave me alone. I don't want to be a tech support for my computer now. Anyway, moving on. Gavin has been jiggling around town, and he's got some jiggle dashboards.
Whoa.
He is
First
just a
you asked me to
gigolo.
be a booth boy, and now you're talking about me jiggling. Like, come on. Like,
He's just a gigolo, and everywhere he goes, everybody's talking about his dashboards. And yeah, man. So you've been posting little videos and of screen captures of your work on this Home Assistant dashboard. Man, this is getting crazy. You're into animations and all this. I didn't even know you could do this. This is crazy. This is awesome.
That's how I felt too. So last week, I think I asked, if anyone had any suggestions. I got a few things, but one, Richard in the hub actually pointed out, some of his favorite dashboards or interfaces. One he really liked was Savant. He said about 2017 Savant he liked. I don't know what 2017 Savant is, but I looked up Savant and looked at what they had, and they have some nice looking stuff. So what I realized, when it comes to dashboards, nobody's perfect. Everyone has their pluses, their minuses, and stuff like that. So I was just pulling ideas from various things and working on pretty much, it's not really a dashboard, but it's the phone interface that we use to interact when we need to, right? And while working on it, I saw somebody had something where they mentioned animated icons. And after digging into that for a while, I got animated icons using CSS. I hate CSS, but I love CSS. And now, like, I could do so many things with the icons. When you tap on them, I can have them jiggle. I can have them, like, I don't know how to describe the effects where they like zoom up and then go back down, like there's so many little things I can have it do, but it's just, even the haptic feedback. So when I press on it, I feel that I've actually tapped on it. So many little things I've been doing with the icons that made me say, now this is it enhanced the experience. These little things, enhance the experience. And I've been messing around with it. Of course, I get sidetracked. As soon as I discovered this, I started playing around with CSS, grids, custom icons, and I'm not getting any of the initial work I wanted to do done. But yeah, I've been working on the dashboards, and it's so powerful in Home Assistant what you can do on those dashboards. It's amazing. The examples out there. I built my remote control on my dashboard. So basically, when I turn on the TV, it expands downwards, and I now have like a touchpad for my remote control. And I can swipe left, right, up, down, click, double click. I have various buttons for back, launch my video cameras, etc. And then when I turn off the TV, that control disappears on the screen, so it doesn't constantly clutter the screen. There's so many things you can do, and it's a learning experience. And I've had so much time to play with the dashboards because I haven't had to break my Home Assistant I haven't had to troubleshoot anything. It's just been working. Like, it's funny. It's like, well, what can I do now? I don't have to troubleshoot anything. Everything's just been working so great. So I've been messing around with dashboards and messing with CSS and designs and stuff like that. And I've got something that we really like working with right now. So it's pretty cool.
I got to say, man, you really know how to pick them. YAML, CSS. What's next? What's next? Are you just like going downhill?
Well, the whole thing is whenever I find something, I get an idea. I'm like, how'd they make that jiggle? And then I realize, oh, they went into CSS. Now I got to learn something about CSS. I kind of wish I had a CSS friend, somebody I could just reach out to and say, how the heck do I find this, icon that I have to, apply a CSS skin, or I don't even know the terminology, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to apply the effect to this icon, but how can I find that stupid icon so I can apply it to it? Because I add the jiggle and then the whole card jiggles. I'm like, damn it, that's not what I wanted. So I'm still struggling with that. I wish I had a CSS friend, but I'm not in those circles.
Yeah, the things people and smart people can do with CSS is like, so it's just a markup language, right? And it's like, I want this particular part of this text to be read, then you kind of like give it a tag and you tell it in CSS to change it and whatever. But there are people who do like complete art portraits, and that it's all just a piece of code, and I don't understand how they do that and how they can arrive at like what is just looks like a master, like a master piece of art, and they've all done it with just CSS shading and codes and just like little elements that appear on a screen. It's wild.
I'm gonna ruin it for you. You're thinking it's so big, but there's actually apps out there you can draw it all in and do the animation, and it kicks out the CSS for you. So
I have seen that, but there's also people that do it by hand. And that's a skill. That's a skill. I'll put a link to this this thing that in our show notes about kind of what I'm talking about. And I know there are apps that you can do all the animations and everything on too, but there are people that are crazy, and they'll work on YAML and they'll work on CSS artwork.
See, my CSS isn't too complicated. It's basically like you have a command that says, okay, animate and run this animation. And all the animation is like, over the course of 2 seconds at 10%, rotate the icon 5 degrees this way, at 10%, go 10 degrees the other way, and it keeps doing that until 100%. And over that 2 seconds, it just looks like a wiggle because it's just constant rotating, a certain degree. And, even just resizing gives you that effect that it's blowing up in the screen and then going back down. Right. So it's cool. And you can Google some effects. I saw one icon of a TV, and when you turned it on, the actual in the TV icon would light up. And it would look like a TV turning on, like one of those old school TVs turning on and then turning off. And I'm like, I looked at the CSS in that, and it was an SVG icon and stuff like that. And I was like, I can steal that. That was really cool. So there's a lot you can do out there. It just takes time to learn it.
Yeah. I mean, you've learned a bunch of new skills just to get this Home Assistant up and going. And it's really impressive what you've done in a few short months. Like I said, when you're at Cedia, you could have your own booth for Home Assistant assistance. And I think you do pretty good. Honestly, what you're doing with Home Assistant is what it needs as just like an overall application over the top of it. It can do
Yeah.
all that back end stuff, but getting to the point where you are is way too hands on for, I would say, 99.99999% of the people out there that would like to, deal with Home Assistant. Like it's such a powerful system, but it's just missing that final piece
Yeah.
that's on top.
And they're adding things in, like they added a feature to tiles in the latest Home Assistant where you can add custom features to it. For example, you have a little tile and you can add a feature. And I'm like, I can write a little feature add-on that will then allow you to animate the icon how you want when you click on it. Right. And all that do will, like, when you click on it, this feature kicks in and they'll say, hey, wiggle this icon. And there you go. It's just a little add-on and it's all done through the GUI. But someone's got to develop these back-end apps. It's possible, but you need somebody to develop it. And hopefully the community comes out with some good things because of that.
I was just thinking about, we're doing some development work at our office. I'm here, and then some other developers are elsewhere in the world. And I bet I could do is just install Home Assistant, integrate all this stuff together. And one of the use cases, like today, it just popped up. It's like we need to turn this light on and off, like the physical power to a light bulb on and off, because when it turns on, it connects to the Wi-Fi and does this like broadcast of its settings and that kind of thing. And we wanted to capture that to be able to parse through that and update the interface and all that good stuff. And there was no way without somebody being physically present to turn the light switch on and off to make this bulb turn and off. And it's like, well, all right, now we've got now we were like, okay, we'll get a little Shelly outlet, right, and plug that in. And so now we have a smart switch, a smart outlet to turn on and off our smart bulb, so we can develop to this thing. And it was really comical. But I'm like, you know what, we could probably just we're like sharing emails and passwords across accounts and inviting people over to this, that it's just not working well. Like, I could probably just done all this in Home Assistant and just said, all right, dashboard for Home Assistant, click this when you want to turn on and off the light. Here's all the settings. Like, I'm sure the integration's already done for the product that we're developing for Home Assistant, for like Control 4 and the Pro product. So like it may have actually been a net benefit. Like if we had just configured it up with a DIY system that already probably has the integrations, because I'm sure somebody got jumped on it as soon as the product came out, and then we could develop our driver based on remotely based on how all the interactions and everything went with that. So it's kind of like a little subset of what TJ was talking about the other day with I can't remember the name of the company, but they basically have Home Assistant and then they just kind of publish the devices and drivers and to their own APIs for the Pro system, so that the Pro systems don't have to know what the APIs are that they're integrating with. They just get generic device information back from this thing, and they can interact with all the smart devices that way. Genius little software.
Innovo Magic Cube.
Yeah, the Cube. Pretty cool stuff. Gavin, what you're doing is absolutely incredible. It's really wild. If you're not in the hub, go to the hub and find that little video there of it. His jiggles, Gavin's jiggles.
Gavin's jiggles. That's the name of this episode.
No.
That is definitely the name.
No. I'm gonna stop talking now.
Gavin's jiggly widgets.
I should have used a different effect. I know it.
Yeah, you shouldn't show us things. Come on.
I know.
Don't be. Yeah, you be proud of your creation, Gavin. It was great. It made me laugh when I saw it, and I was like, that's really amazing. Like I know you're not finished with it. You're still iterating, and whatever you.
Well, you're never done with it. Yeah, you're never done with it. Like what I'm doing now is I'm actually centralizing the code so that I can use the same code throughout my dashboard. So if I ever want to change the effect on all my lights, for example, I just have to edit one piece of code and it applies to everything. Yeah. So that's using the decluttering card. If you're familiar with that, it just centralizes code. But I got the concept working, and then I start cleaning up the code and stuff like that, and it just makes it easier to make these dashboards, right?
I guess so.
Beautiful.
I was checking in on my Home Assistant, and for whatever reason, it gives me a yellow prompt that says shell. I don't even know what that means. Maybe. Oh,
is that the VM you're looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't go there. You have to go to the actual URL.
Oh.
No.
Well, maybe it works on my app if I have an app or something.
No, just go into a browser and type your homeassistant.local.80 whatever. I feel like we go through this every week.
Dude, I just forget. I don't think it's working. I don't think it booted up. I think there's something wrong with it again.
And I think we go through this every week again.
I thought I had it running this time. I was really looking forward to the update. I'm sure that's out today.
Yeah, it was released on Wednesday on the 1st. So it's exciting. I upgraded within 2 minutes of it getting released. I like to live on the wild side.
Well,
Nothing's broken.
I typed in reset and it just started over. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I'll just reinstall it.
Go for it.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up everything tonight. But we do want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to support the show financially and support us getting to CDA. That's really going to help us get out there. TJ and Gavin, we're flying Gavin. I mean, we got to get him across the border. He's got to smuggle him across.
He better be bringing us Tim Hortons.
Yeah, bring us some donuts or something.
I better check my passport. I better make sure my passport's not expiring.
Yeah, you do need one of those.
Yeah.
Evidently, all we need is a balloon, so we'll be all right.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah. If you don't know about a Patreon page, head over to HomeTech.fm support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out on the show, but every single pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can see Gavin's jiggles. You're welcome, Gavin.
No.
If you want to help, out but can't support financially, totally understand. Just appreciate a 5-star review or a positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. It really helps people find the show. But that wraps up another week here at HomeTech. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Adieu.
Adieu. Okay. Are we in post show now?
We are now.
The whole thing's post show.
So
You didn't get the memo, did you?
my passport expires.
Oh my
no.
gosh, Gavin.
September 30th.
Oh, it's funny. They probably won't let you come over then.
No, they usually. I think it's like
won't.
6 months. No, you're good. I'll be good, but like,
Well, I'm good. I live in the state.
You're going to get out, but you
Country.
can't get back in.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I don't know. Some
fine.
places are picky about that. Where if your passport expires soon, then
within
won't let
6
you in.
months or something like that. Yeah.
'cause they're like, well, you're trying to stay then.
I don't know what the lineups are like now, so I gotta put in my passport renewal.
You must be one of those illegal immigrants I hear about.
No, I'm a legal immigrant.
6 months to get your passport, really, in Canada?
Wow,
No,
really?
they had some long lineups. People were at the
Now's the
passport
time
office
to do
lining
it.
up for like
Oh,
9
yeah.
hours and stuff like that. So I'm gonna start looking. I don't even know how to get my passport.
Hey, you
out.
better do it soon.
But yeah, good thing I checked.
Yeah,
my
that's good.
Nexus card is 2025, so I'm good with that.
What's a Nexus card?
How does that not expire at this? That's weird.
Do you have a Nexus card, Seth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
My
I
Nexus
don't.
card.
What is
yeah,
that?
it's
Just
right
like
here,
for
actually.
like quick trips?
Yeah, so I
Global
bypass
entry,
customs and stuff like that. I don't
Oh.
have to go through customs. You just I'm Gavin Campbell. Take care.
Oh, I guess it might. I think my passport's 20. Yeah, the Nexus cards is or the global entries cards 2027. So I guess it's a different date. I thought it was the same, but
No,
nope,
it was different.
program.
I had this passport for 10 years. Wow.
Completely
Wow.
useless to travel with a global entry card. I think without a password, but passport, but whatever.
Well, I don't know. Like it used to be, you can go into the States with just your driver's license from Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't know if
for
they
North
changed
America, it
that
makes
though.
sense.
Yeah,
Look,
no, it's
look.
Canada and the U.S.
We can't even fly without a federal ID now, so you
Yeah.
better not be able to get in with just your license.
No, I think they're a little more strict now. I think I need the passport and stuff.
Yep.
Never mention work.
I think you need to listen to I Am Canadian 28 because it sounds like they know what they're talking about, and we
Yeah.
don't. So it's time to go get that passport renewed, Gavin. We'll have to see you in
Yeah, I
September.
know. I
We'll
know.
have just a Zoom video that TJ
Yeah.
walks around holding
Yeah,
on his crappy Samsung tablet.
that's
Like, this is
right.
Gavin.
6 months to get your passport. It's been it's been pretty bad.
Yeah, well, it's 6 months until we're at the show, Gavin. So
Count it down.
now's the time to do it.
Expedite.
yeah, I
right,
need to go.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys.